It's time to dive beneath the surface and into the minds and hearts of your favorite celebrities and pop culture icons. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. How are you? And look who I have here with me today. Hi, Emily. How are you?
Hi, Adam. It's so good to see you. I'm great. Glad to be here.
You know, I actually have to say, I want to point something out before we get started, because I'm so excited that you're here to talk about the Britney Spears conservatorship. And there's something special about you in the way that you really make me go the extra mile to think. I know that sounds like you're like, oh, okay. So, I mean, that could sound, I guess, arrogant, but that's not what I mean.
No, tell me what you mean.
I was going to say, I'm listening to my intro and it's like your favorite celebrities. And I'm like, that's not true. How do you know that? How do you know that people even like reality TV stars? That's pretty dumb. But then I didn't feel like it was dumb until I got on here with somebody who was so smart. So I
love your intro. I think it's great. And you do talk about the favorite celebrities of your audience, because you let your audience tell you what they like too. So I don't think it's dumb at all. I think it's great.
Well, thank you. I know I didn't pay for a therapy session, but I appreciate it.
We can do it. I've been doing enough therapy. I feel like I've got some chops in that regards too. I know we're here to talk about Britney. Have you already talked about Real Housewives of New Jersey on your channel? Where can I go watch it?
So I'm actually doing it. I'm doing my live recap tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
I was supposed to do it today with Kim D from who had Posh. And
I know exactly who Kim D is. You don't need to say anything else. I know exactly who Kim D is.
And she put it off for next week. So I was like, so we scheduled it. And then I was like, okay, then I'll just move it for tomorrow. But I was so excited about it. And what a ridiculous premiere.
Ridiculous.
Teresa was so reckless, by the way. I just want to say that. Absolutely reckless. You cannot throw something out there.
No, it's so Jersey. And Teresa doesn't forget. She knows when the cameras are on. She knows what she's doing. She does things with intention. She might misspeak and like use the wrong words in the wrong places, but she's intentional and she's sly.
There's no like blowing a casket.
Yeah. She's sly. She does it intentionally. She knows how to stay on that show. And I had rewatched the first episode from last season, and they start the exact same way. They start with the big blow up and Teresa storming out when they're in Tom's River, and then they're like 3 months before. And so then this episode started the same way. I'm like, here we go, bitches in Jersey be fighting again. This is what we're doing.
I mean, it's crazy. And the thing is too, and again, I know we're here to talk about the free Britney.
We are. We're going to get to Britney.
And we will, guys. We will. But you can't get me started on some Jersey and then just stop me.
We're going to get to Britney. I enjoy. Look, and here's where I struggle. Okay, so we're going to talk about Britney. I struggle to still enjoy watching reality TV after seeing what was done to Britney. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like with the new wave of reality TV, a lot of the women are my age or older. They saw what happened, and this is a choice. Like, they are choosing to be on reality TV, knowing what the circus looks like. They've been to the circus. They've seen the show. They've seen behind the curtain. They saw what happened to celebrities in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I feel like they know, and they're choosing to do it. And they choose to start more beef on social media. They choose to stir stuff up. They know they're being filmed. They know what their words are. It's different to me than Britney trying to go to the gas station and being swarmed by paparazzi, because they're choosing it.
Well, exactly. And fighting with a bunch of women, as entertaining as it can be sometimes, is not a talent. To say that is not a talent. So it's not even close to the same thing. But, one thing I wanted to point out really quick, since we were talking about Jersey, is the hypocrisy in it. The fact that Teresa was so hurt when everyone was talking about her husband, and so hurt when they were talking about her being in jail and what he was doing. And there were multiple seasons that addressed maybe him hooking up with some woman on his desk that Teresa walked in on, and it didn't make her feel good. So
no, she was pissed. She was fucking pissed.
Yeah. So where did that Teresa go? Like, hello, you have to remember those moments. And just because you don't have a man with you now doesn't mean, like, don't forget how that made you feel. And
I think we got revenge, Teresa. Remember what she did to her sister-in-law? I mean, the whole setup before the Posh show with, I heard from this person, and then bringing the person to be like, hey, Melissa, remember me? Like, that whole setup was Teresa. And now she's like
her hands were clean.
Yep.
It's classic
Yep.
Teresa, but the only thing that was annoying with last night's episode too is she's going around and she's like, "Did you hear about the gym thing? Like they messed around, like," and it's like, you don't even believe what you're saying. This sounds like you just came up with something and you're like, okay, it's filming time, like got to pay the bills.
Show's on.
Yeah, there was no facts behind it, and like I think every single cast member agreed this is bad and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stupid.
She went around to every single person at that party. Did you hear? Did you? It was so junior high school to watch. Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? I was like, yikes. It felt intentional. Intentional. Jackie brought up a really poor analogy. Because you don't bring the kids into it, which is going to lose her some support. Because I think people were like, I think people would have been like, no, this is wrong. Good for you, Jackie, for sitting down and calling it out. And then instead of saying, hey, Teresa, remember when I asked you about these photos that we saw of you and you lost your shit on me? And those are photos in tabloids. Remember that? That could have been a perfect analogy instead of going for Gia, who seems like a lovely young woman.
Right. And listen, I want to play devil's advocate here with you and see if how you feel about this.
Sure.
Because I always look at it like I look at it both ways. One, Gia is now, she's of age, so she's not a child anymore, even though she is someone's child. And she gets a little bit of a kickback every once in a while when she goes on the show and she films the hard moments with her mom talking about the dad. And I'm sure her mom, those girls have whatever they need, right?
Yeah.
And Gia has been through enough these past few years and having to be the oldest daughter for her family. And she's been through enough. However, I think her analogy stemmed from my kids. I don't have any kids who are of age, but by you saying this about my husband is affecting my 4 kids. You're just because you're not saying it about them doesn't mean it doesn't affect them. And then it makes you think a little bit, but no, that's still not right because she didn't attack your kids. She just gave you a rumor about your husband, but it does affect her kids. So I don't know where to go.
So my thought with Jackie is she wants to pull the lawyer card all the time. I'm a lawyer. She had time to think about what she was going to say. She knew what she was going to say going in. Lawyers prepare arguments in their brains, even when they don't want to, even when it's me trying to negotiate with my kid to eat dinner that I know he's not going to like. Lawyers think through what they're going to say. I mean, there's for sure times when stuff is spur of the moment that maybe not. I mean, we saw that with Emily in Orange County screaming that she was going to kill somebody, but Jackie had time to sit down and think about what she was going to say going in and run through the scenarios in her head. I can't imagine that like, oh, well, what if we said this about Gia Giudice? And everybody who's watching going, I thought we were talking about Britney. We are, but she said like, what if Gia's snorting drugs in the bathroom? She had time to think. That wasn't a spur of the moment, like, what if? So it was a choice. I think it was a shit choice. And I will call her on that shit choice. Why? Gia didn't choose to be on Housewives. Her mom did. She's grown up in the spotlight. We've watched her grow up in the spotlight. She didn't choose to watch both of her parents go to jail, her dad to get deported. I feel like leave the Giudice girls off of it unless they've done something themselves. If Gia actually did something and was 19 and was getting asked about it, it's different. But it kind of goes with all of the Housewife franchises that you don't really get into the kids, even the adult kids. They didn't choose to be on the franchise. I think it's a low blow. And I think she knew better and could have known better. And she's like, well, it was no, there's so much else Teresa has done. Pull from what Teresa has done. Pull what Teresa did to Melissa Gorga. Pull what Teresa did to try to set up Danielle Staub way back, 19 marriages, prostitution, flip table. Pull up all the things Teresa has done. There's plenty of material to pull from. Plenty.
Well, now I want to ask you, wow, you really, maybe I should cancel Kim D and then just have you come recap.
Housewives way too much. It's such a guilty pleasure.
Well, no, I want to play again. It's not devil's advocate, but I'm just curious what you think because you make a great point in the fact that the housewives are the ones that they hold the diamond or the orange or the peach or whatever it is that they might hold if they hold anything. And they're the ones who get that big contract with all of the rules and everything that comes with that. And then the family, like the husband or the kids, they're just a part of that where they kind of get sucked into it. But the husband didn't sign up for it either. So would you feel just as bad for him being dragged into it as you would the kids?
I feel like when it comes to, and this, again, I'm a mom of two, and I've chosen to put part of my life on the internet. It's definitely not housewife level, but I choose to put part of my life on the internet, being a YouTube commentator. And my husband and I had conversations about what that looks like, if that's what we want to do. And then it was like, hey kids, this is what we're doing. So I feel like the spouses have some sign off. I can't imagine that you would sign up for the show and your spouse wouldn't sign off to be on air. Like they would have to sign off to be on air. The parents can choose that for the kids. I can sign off on my kids being on my, YouTube or not, just like they can sign off on their kids appearing on Bravo or not. But the spouses have to sign contracts and releases to say that they're going to be on air, to allow them to be shown on air. We've seen housewives who choose not to have the people they're dating or involved with on camera much, if not ever. So the adults still get to make a choice there. With Tom Girardi, we didn't see him on much. Those would be very intentional moments where it's like, we're filming, you're filming, the film crew's there, and you've chosen to be on air and you've signed the rights to Bravo to use that footage however they use it. So I feel like the adults have a little bit more buy-in than the kids. Yes, maybe Gia is signing that now that she's 19 and agreeing to be on screen and getting paid for that. I feel like the Giudice Girls maybe need a spin-off. I would love to see that. Actually, but I also feel like I would love to see that, but I also feel like maybe they just get to be out of the spotlight and deal with their lives. I can't imagine what they've been through is easy. So I don't know. I feel badly for Gia being brought into that. I feel like it crossed a line. Like for me, that crosses a line because there's plenty that Teresa has done on her own, or even just bring it back up to, hey, when I said that you had these photos and people brought up these rumors about your ex, you didn't like it. Why is this different? I think there's plenty of other things to grab. You didn't have to go for Gia. I also like Gia. From what I've seen on the show and social media, she has had a lot of spotlight on her during very difficult times and seems to be a pretty grounded young woman. So
yeah, no, and I agree with you. I mean, she's going to, I think she's still going to college, or I don't know what that looks like with COVID, but she was in college and she has a boyfriend and she's always there for her mom. She looks like she's such a great support system when you watch previous seasons with her sisters. So yeah. All right. You're passionate about this. You like your Housewives.
I was mad watching Housewives. I was like, come on, Jack. Like there are housewife kids that are older for sure, but just, I don't know, going after kids that have been after so much and then being like, the thing that kind of grossed me out was at the end when she's like, my life's better than yours, I win, is essentially how she ended that fight. And I'm like, oh, don't fucking go there with some, like, who are you to say you're better than anyone, Jack? Like, calm the fuck down. That was gross. That was gross to me. That was
and your husband,
my life looks perfect.
Your husband might be at home right now saying, our life is not better because you don't do the BJ's thing. You never know. I mean,
it's a very fair point. It's a very, very fair point.
You never know what's going on behind the scenes. These housewives are crazy. It actually makes me the fact that you get so like passionate about it, but then you have that, I guess, sort of lawyer way about you where you have your argument and it's such a good argument. Like you swayed me on this. At first I was like, yeah, well, she talked about her husband and they have 4 kids. This affects all of them. So I guess if she went in on Gia, that's technically fair. But no, you're right. Gia didn't ask for this, and Gia's been through enough, and she didn't sign on that dotted line to be scrutinized like that. And some people too, mind you, some people are not going to hear, well, what if I said that analogy? Over time, I feel like a game of telephone that will be, oh, guys, do you remember when it came out that Gia did that white powdery substance? And then
she knew. She knew she pulled the pin out of the grenade and threw it into filming. Jackie knew exactly what she was doing. I just think it was a bullshit thing to do because again, there's enough that Teresa has done and said that you can go right to Teresa and just be like, but you did this and you did this. And remember, you got mad when I said this. I think there's enough. Teresa's given everyone enough material. Just go after her with the shit that she's done. There's no need to bring someone else into it and then be like, oh, and my life's better than yours, I win. That behavior is gross to me, and it says a lot, because I don't think a lot of us would look at somebody and be like, well, my life's better than yours. Like, who thinks that? Who thinks that their life is better? Like, all of our lives are difficult. And it's the middle of COVID when they're filming, and they're all running around with no masks on. It just, all of it was gross to me. I didn't like any of the premiere. It just all made me mad.
And she's lucky she didn't catch younger Teresa, because Teresa would be known to...
Teresa would have smacked her.
Yeah, she would have probably popped her over that. Really. I mean, honestly, because Teresa doesn't mess around when it comes to the family stuff. And you saw she got up, and I don't know if she's still on probation or what. I mean, she might be. She might still be
on probation, but Teresa does go to hands. But I think after she pushed Andy, Bravo was like, we cannot go to hands with anybody. They also need to stop throwing shit at each other. I mean, when's the last time you saw adults throwing drinks at each other? I mean, really?
Yeah, and it's actually kind of funny too, because I had this conversation with DJ Richie Sky, have you met him?
No, we haven't met.
Oh no, he's a big fan of yours, because we were talking the other day about how you and I were going to come on together, and he's like, can I come on with you guys? He's like, I love watching Emily D. Baker.
We'll do a panel. We'll do a Housewives panel. We'll set it up and just talk Housewives.
I love that.
After one of these episodes, for sure.
No, but he was pointing out the fact that oh my gosh, where was my head go? Oh, he was on reality TV before. And, with that and having the cameras around, again, a little bit of my background was being around reality television, Vanderpump Rules and stuff like that in Los Angeles for like 5-6 years. So watching it and watching how the cameras inflate these personalities and how you really come to life. And if you're sad, you're sad. If you're happy, you're happy. If you're mad, you're like 10 times more mad, because that camera's rolling and you have a job to do. I've never seen anything like it. Like, they are legit. I like to call them actors sometimes, because
it's an exaggerated version of yourself. I think that's why I like YouTube so much better, because yes, I think there are some YouTube personalities that exaggerate for the camera, but I also think that a lot of YouTubers are who they are, camera on or camera off. And that's the one thing I really enjoy. So I don't know. All of it just kind of made me mad.
All right.
I mean, I once again, great TV, but all of it kind of, I was like, my life is better than yours left a bad taste in my mouth, I think.
The funny thing here is that it took Jason and I only 23 minutes, I think, to recap Salt Lake City, and that was stretching it out. And you and I just killed barely scratching the surface of Jersey in 18 minutes, which is great. Guys, again, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button. And Emily D. Baker, I saw you do the hands. What does that mean?
Oh, I was just saying I have a gift for long form content. So you're like, nothing gets summarized in under 15 minutes.
I love that. No, hey, honestly, it's good quality conversation. It's not like you're coming on like psycho babbling about something that nobody knows about. Like, these are great points.
It's fun to talk about. It's fun to talk about.
We're going to see another channel pop up, and it's going to be the Emily D. Baker reviews.
Oh, I don't know if I have time for that. The lawsuits, look, the legal stuff has been keeping me popping, but that's what I rely on channels like yours and others to help, like, kind of fill in, because I don't have time to keep up with everything, because the lawsuits are popping. There's so much that's been happening in the legal world, but I will always come on and talk about Housewives because I love it. I didn't even have time. I feel guilty admitting this. I didn't have time to watch Salt Lake City. Like, it's on my list to go back and watch in kind of one sitting when I have time.
It was you mean like the whole season?
I haven't watched it at all. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You'll definitely have to go back and watch it. And the reunion definitely is delivering. So it's good.
Love that. I've seen the memes. The memes are good. And when the memes are good, I'm like, all right, we're getting in.
Have you seen the meme about if I give her a Chanel necklace and she chokes on it, that's her problem? These women are savage. Speaking of which, though, speaking of savage, one thing that I thought was pretty savage was this Britney Spears documentary that everyone's been waiting for. So we're here to talk about it, guys. And I thought it was only fitting that I would ask Emily if she would please join me, because I wanted kind of a breakdown of what a conservatorship is and why Britney is still placed under one. I mean, we kind of get the gist of it, right? Where knowing the conservator kind of takes control of the person's assets and starts to make decisions for the person. But did you watch this documentary?
I did. I really enjoyed it. I did
I
watch the
enjoyed it too, but I
documentary.
felt so bad for her. And I know that they kept on saying that there was something in the medical records that they couldn't share that pointed
But
out
nobody
why.
knows.
Yeah, but nobody knows. Why shouldn't that be
No.
shared or no?
Unfortunately, that's one of the things that in a conservatorship, protecting the rights and privacy of the conservatee really do become, and that I will protecting Britney. Britney's the conservatee. So in a conservatorship, it's a different type of court than other types of court. It's almost more protected like a family law court when you're dealing with matters with kids. And a conservatorship places the court and others in charge of essentially a person's entire life. So Brittany has a conservatorship over her person, which means personal autonomy. Can I drive? Can I vote? Can I make spending decisions? Can I use social media without supervision? Can I have internet access without supervision? Do I make my own medical decisions? If I wanted to make a medical decision, could I tell my doctor something? No, because the conservator can override it. Can I get married? Can I have children? None of this. Can I get in my car and go get some McDonald's? No. Like the conservator has the rights to make all those decisions over the person. Then there's a conservatorship over her estate. And when you think of an estate, it's similar to an estate of when somebody passes. They take everything and put it into an estate. It's all your assets, all your debts, all your property. Everything's governed by it. All your business relationships, all of your contractual relationships, all of it's under this estate. So there are two different conservators. There's the conservator over her person, which is now temporarily Jody Montgomery, and then there's the conservator over the estate, which is co-conservatorship now with her father and with this company Bessemer Trust, which is a professional asset management that deals with complex estates like the estate of Britney Spears. So when we talk about an estate in a conservatorship, we don't mean an estate where somebody has passed, but it's treated the same way as like a Michael Jackson estate where it's managed and there's still ongoing work and assets and property. Her music is out there making money. They had her out there making money for years and years of this conservatorship. They can sign her to a new recording contract if they want. They can sign her to In the Zone. I mean, it doesn't mean she's going to show up, but then her estate gets sued for not showing up and breaching contract provisions, and she has to pay for it. So that's the conservatorship in a nutshell. So her father and Bessemer Trust are co-conservators over the money shit, and then Jody Montgomery is the temporary conservator over the personal stuff. And the reason it's temporary is because Jamie was the permanent conservator, her father. And when he got ill, he stepped down, and they never made Jody Montgomery the permanent conservator over the person.
So what makes Jamie Spears qualified in the financial department? Like what makes him qualified to oversee millions and millions of dollars?
In my opinion, nothing. But when this conservatorship went into effect, it tends to be that they lean towards having the family in charge. And at the beginning, he had a co-conservator of the estate, Andrew Wallet. So then there was always this other person involved with the money. And there was also a professional management company, which was Lou M. Taylor's company, right? Doing the business management stuff. Lou quit. I think that was probably a good thing. At some point, Andrew Wallet quit, and then it kind of left her dad as the one person in charge, which is something Britney, it seems from court documents, never wanted. So now bringing in Bessemer Trust, you have somebody new doing that management. They are trying to bring in a different business manager. I'm hoping that we'll see Bessemer kind of take over all of that in one, and it allows the court, I think, an opportunity to phase this over to Bessemer and then remove Jamie. Jamie was trying to not let Bessemer have control at all. It's like they can be co-conservators, but I'm still the one making the decision. And that's not what the court said in this most recent hearing this month.
Well, and he was trying to, along with Andrew Wallet, petition to get a higher percentage of everything that she was making, right? Because they get 1.5%.
Yeah, they were trying to make more and they were trying to get paid more. And so was Lou Taylor. Lou Taylor was trying to change with COVID. Lou Taylor's company was trying to change the pay structure because they had been making a percentage of performances, but then all the performances stopped. And then somewhere in there, Britney also refused to perform. So it was like, no, we want I think it was $400,000 a year. And then once we hit that, then a percentage above that, knowing that with no performances and with COVID, we're not going to hit that amount. So they're like, no, we need a flat rate.
Okay. Wow. So I wanted to, I guess the first,
it's a lot.
It is a lot, but it makes sense. I
Yeah.
guess one of the first questions that comes to mind, though, is with him being in charge, her dad being in charge of Britney's estate, is it at all possible that throughout the years that he's been in charge, that he would be able to go into her bank and withdraw a good amount of money and not even show or tell her that he was taking out that money? Or does she always have to co-sign on it too?
Oh, she doesn't co-sign on anything. She doesn't have the right to. She doesn't have the right to see how her money's being spent. She's not entitled to know how much they're paying her business managers. She's not entitled to know how much she's paying her father. She's not entitled to know how much she's paying her father's lawyers. No, she doesn't get to know any of it. The court reviews it, but she does not get to review it. She doesn't have any input.
I mean, will she be
Yes.
under a conservatorship for
the struggling to understand is exactly what it is. The how is this happening? That's what it is. The thought of a conservatorship is that somebody is incapacitated to a point where they cannot make those decisions. They cannot understand those decisions. And that's why they need a conservatorship. Because that's what Tom Girardi's brother's arguing right now, right? He's old, he's infirm, and he is suffering with memory, and he can't understand short-term decisions. He can't hire his own lawyer because he doesn't understand what's happening. That's what we're seeing Tom Girardi's brother argue in the Erica Jane Girardi cases. Hey, he doesn't have short-term memory. He can't process what's happening. He doesn't understand the day-to-day. Like, he wouldn't be able to make himself food. He needs people to take care of him. That's the court assumes that type of a situation when they put somebody in a conservatorship, that they can't comprehend it. So no, they don't have decisions over their money because they wouldn't be able to make those decisions. I think the thing that's so frustrating with Britney is that we've watched her be on live television. We've watched her perform. So it's hard to say, okay, but is she really incapable of those decisions? Really, truly?
Right. Because I mean, like everyone was saying in the documentary over and over and over again, this is someone who has the ability to come on and do acting and remember lines and remember her words and the dances that she needs to do. And she was nailing all of her concerts. But then all of a sudden she's being rushed back into she's like Rapunzel.
Yeah.
Getting stuck back in her castle.
Or like her dad compared her to, like a racehorse. You let them out to run, then you hose them down and put them away.
Did they mention
get to come back out? They didn't mention it in the documentary. It was mentioned in a court document by her mother, where her mother said that's how he used to refer to her, as a racehorse that needed strong reins and to really be well managed, if you would.
Why wouldn't Lynn, why has she not taken over the conservatorship? Or, I know that you don't have all of the answers for that, but has that been challenged?
It hasn't been directly challenged. What we're seeing from Lynn in court right now is that Lynn is really stepping up and pushing to have her own attorneys in there and really pushing to be more involved in the proceedings and to know what's going on. We're seeing a lot of questions being asked, and we're seeing Britney's legal team saying, no, we want less of these documents secret. We want to open up these documents to the public. And so we're really getting a good look into the conservatorship for the first time, because Britney's team is saying, no, this shouldn't be under seal. No, Britney doesn't need to be protected. She wants people to see what's happening to her. And I think that's a good first step, because now there's a lot more commentary on what is actually happening behind the scenes here. Where's the money going? Why is Britney's estate only 60 million? And I know that sounds like a lot of money. It sounds like a lot of money to me too. But when you look at that, she's making $1 million a week in Vegas. Where is the money going? Because if you're making $1 million a week in Vegas, and one of the most popular Vegas residencies ever, because Britney's a queen, why is that only a $60 million estate? And you look at her contemporaries like Christina Aguilera, who has an estate 2 or 3 times the size. That money is going to her dad, to lawyers, to business managers, and she has no right to see any of it. And I don't think she cares about the money, truly. Oh, and she's got the perfumes and all the other stuff. I don't think she cares about the money. I think Britney cares about her freedom.
After it being so long too, what'd they say, 12 years now at this point?
Almost over 13 now, because we're in February. Yeah.
13 years. Yeah, no, it's insane to think about that, because you have somebody like Mr. Girardi who can't figure out where his $80 million worth of, that was his net worth, right? How does he have a net worth at one point of $80 million? And like you said, Britney Spears is worth $60 million when she gets residuals off of her music, and she's to date still one of the most popular, pop stars ever.
Yep. Where's the money going? It's a very good question. And the court looks over it, but it's just, where is it going? Where is it going? Okay. I don't know. So then it's shocking to me. It really is shocking to me. And I understand here, my perspective, and you had asked me, and then I tangented and like drove the conversation in a different direction. But will Britney ever be out of this? Britney has not asked to be removed from the conservatorship. She has not asked for that. She has to ask. What I think her legal team and her are doing is phasing out Jamie and then phasing down the personal conservatorship so she can travel, so she can have more time with her kids and more autonomy, and leaving the financial shit to the court and to a new professional management for now. That's how I see this going, is that she's going to be pushing for more personal freedoms and leave the money where it is. And it's not unusual for celebrities to have business managers and financial managers, even celebrities not of the caliber of Britney Spears or not of the wealth of Britney Spears, having other people that pay their bills, review their contracts, make sure they get paid, and deal with the money stuff. That's not uncommon. And I don't know if Britney will try to undo that part of the conservatorship just because it's been going on for so long. And she might not even want to deal with it. She's going to have to hire people to deal with it one way or the other. So it might be easier for her to focus on her personal rights first.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And I honestly, thinking about it, when you have an estate that big and knowing that there are so many different bills to pay and people to pay and people on your payroll, right? I would want somebody being in charge of my finances too. But like you said, somebody court appointed that you can trust, and not a family member who might be doing some shady stuff behind the scenes. Now, if it comes out in the future, like say they do get rid of Jamie Spears and it comes out that he was dishing out a little bit of extra money to himself, he can get in trouble for that, even though he was in charge of the finances, right?
It's a difficult question because the court is looking over all of the billing statements. The court is also overseeing this estate annually and then biannually. So the court is looking at financial statements constantly. So it would be very hard to come back and say, look, these things weren't proper expenses. What we're seeing now is Britney's attorney objecting to certain expenses and saying to the court, these expenses shouldn't be paid by the conservatorship. It would be hard for him to legally get in trouble when the oversight is there and when expenses get submitted and Britney's attorney has a right to object to things. We're just starting to see that happening now. So the conservator does have some protection because of the court oversight.
So do the conservators have to, does her dad live on her property, do you think?
Oftentimes a conservator can live with a conservatee. They don't have to. I don't believe her dad lives on her property, but he very well could. But if he doesn't, he could pay, because he gets paid over $100,000 a year for doing the job of being the conservator. So he could very well pay for somewhere else. There's also some objections to like storage units and stuff that are being rented for him. There's some funky expenses that Britney's attorney, her court-appointed attorney, Sam Ingham, has started objecting to and really bringing more light to. So whether Ingham should have done that before is, I think, something that's going to be questioned. Can it be gone back and undone? Not unless there was really solid proof of fraud on the court. Like if things were just, if Bessemer, hypothetical, land of speculation, conspiracy speculation, monuments to the gods of speculation. If Bessemer Trust went in and started auditing the books and was like, these numbers aren't adding up, there's money missing, then we could have, if there was actual fraud, we could actually see an issue. If there's not actual fraud, it would be like, you shouldn't have spent this much money on Lou Taylor. Well, that's an opinion. That's not fraud because the court saw how much it was being paid. Other people might not think it's worth it, but the court saw it. If there's actual fraud there, then there could be an issue.
I think this is actually, I mean, this is pretty amazing to think about too, because most people fixate on the financial part of all of this because she has millions and millions of dollars. But I don't know if you necessarily think about her relationship. And she's with Sam Ashgari, and he even said that her dad has made it a nightmare for them to be together.
Yep.
They could have complete control over when he comes on the property. If he doesn't come on the property.
Yes.
They can ban her like a teenage girl.
Yes. They can literally lock her in her room. They can take away her phone. They can take away her internet access. If Jamie decided he didn't want Britney to see Sam, he could cut Sam out of her life, and she might not know why, because he doesn't have to tell her why. He could ban Sam from the property if he wanted to. Well, he can't anymore because it's now Jody Montgomery in charge of the person, which is why that's probably a very good thing.
Right, because she's not, I mean, it's not family.
It's not family.
It's somebody.
So I know there's people who don't necessarily love Jody Montgomery. I haven't looked too deeply into her, but it's somebody that's separate from her father that maybe is not as emotionally attached to. Look, if Britney, how old is Sam? Isn't he like 26 or 27 or something?
He's younger.
Yeah. So if Britney wants to run around with her dude, and he has put up with the hoops that no doubt he has to jump through to see her and spend time with her, who's Jody Montgomery to be like, oh no, it's not good for her. It doesn't seem that there's any indication that Sam is taking money or using opportunities or anything like that. It seems like he is really a companion to her and a romantic partner. I hate to say boyfriend. I mean, she's almost 40. Her lover. I mean, but even then, like if she needs birth control or if she needs to go to the doctor, her conservator has to set that up, because she's not allowed to have children without permission. I mean, at 40, I'm in my 40s. I imagine I wouldn't I wouldn't want to do that. But she has a lot of restrictions. And for me, the money stuff isn't as upsetting. It is upsetting, but I really think from the court documents I've read that Britney's like, whatever with the money, as long as I can do the things I want to do, I just don't care. I want to see my kids. I want to have a life. I want to have some privacy, and I want to have the ability to do the things I want to do. I want to be able to travel, she's allowed to travel only to states where her father's extended the conservatorship. Hawaii, Louisiana.
This is sick.
Yeah. And she wants to go to Montana and go skiing. Nope. Sorry. You're not allowed to go. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to go hire a jet and just go to Europe if you wanted. I mean, COVID, but if Britney wanted to go to Australia for a month with her kids, she can't do it.
This is mind-blowing. And another thing that they pointed out in the documentary was the fact that this is one of the first hybrid business model conservatorships that they've seen from
anyone.
I mean, would you agree to that?
Sorry, as my righteous indignation gets caught in my throat. Conservatorships shouldn't be a hybrid business model because the person in the conservatorship is generally not able to work. The point of a conservatorship is so that somebody who's vulnerable or unable to make these decisions is protected. So someone like Tom Girardi, if he has had he's a tough example, but someone in their 80s who's tremendously wealthy, who could be taken advantage of by a new business manager or a attorney or someone, you get a conservatorship there so that the court's overseeing what's done, so that somebody doesn't squander their money, somebody's in charge of their medical care and is really taking the reins because they are just not capable. The not capable part is why you don't see people working in a conservatorship, because if they're not capable of making basic medical decisions and basic day-to-day decisions, how are they capable of working and producing, particularly the way Britney was? And that's where this push-pull of this conservatorship has come up.
Okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way because conservatees generally can't do what Britney has done.
I mean, it just blows my mind how much her dad actually gets away with in this. But I wanted to bring this up. Thank you, Keeping Up with KP, for the super chat. Keeping Up with KP said, does the father of her kids, Kevin Federline, have anything to do with this? Do you think he has an NDA? He probably won't want to give up financial support.
I don't know what financial support Federline receives from Britney. I haven't seen that in the estate documents. It doesn't mean it's not there. There's a lot of documents. I'm sure that the kids are financially supported through the conservatorship. I don't know if he has an NDA or if he's just staying out of it, but he did not hesitate to get a restraining order against Jamie Spears and help the boys get restraining orders against Jamie Spears. So Kevin has definitely kind of stayed low in all of this, but he also did step out against Jamie with those restraining orders. So, I mean, I don't know what he has to do with this. I don't think Kevin was in a position to really have a lot of input in this because the conservatorship was going on as the divorce was going down. So I think that Kevin has to deal with the conservatorship in so much as dealing with visitation and the kids. And I really do feel bad for Britney's kids in all of this.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is obviously terrible. And it kind of makes you question too, even more about Jamie Spears from the things that you've heard about, the racehorse comment. And I guess a few comments that people along the way who have been a part of Britney's life, they said in the documentary, right? But then now the kids are getting restraining orders and Kevin Federline's getting a restraining order and everyone's speaking out against this man. But then we're sticking this man in front of or in charge of, one of America's sweethearts.
I think
you can call her.
And I have kind of two minds of this because I think when the conservatorship started, I generally do think there was fear there from her parents. And I can, like, putting myself in the role of like both a rebellious teen and then as a parent, I can see where her parents might have been righteously terrified for her that Sam, the business manager that she was running around with during this period of time, I think there was fear that he was taking advantage of her. I'm not saying that's right or wrong fear. I think there was fear there. I think her parents were afraid for her and afraid that if she kept going on the trajectory she was going on, she would not only lose her money, but likely lose her life. I think they were absolutely afraid for her. But after she's stabilized, does that still carry through 13 years of this conservatorship? That's where my questions are. I really don't question the beginning of the conservatorship as a temporary conservatorship to stabilize her and protect her assets and protect her from those who might want to take advantage of her. I get all of that. What I don't get is why there haven't been modifications to that. And you can do a temporary conservatorship for a year or two and not make it permanent and keep it going for 13 years. Right. They also could have done things like power of attorney, though she would have had more rights in that and would have fought it. When they started this conservatorship, they did not tell her. They didn't let her hire her own attorney and they didn't let her fight it. So to now not give her any voice in hiring her own counsel and stuff is very, very difficult for me.
I mean,
like I get where it started and I understand where it started. Getting to now is just, there's a disconnect somewhere on the road. This needed to be reevaluated. And I think that's being done now. And we'll see. I hope that we see more medical evaluations. There were supposed to be more medical evaluations and the person who had been working with Britney died in the middle of it and they haven't been done yet. There's
a fun fact for you. MLB 77 said Federline gets $20,000 a month in child support. Okay.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me because he has sole custody of the kids. That doesn't surprise me.
That's still, it's still
it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. All right. This is a lot to digest. I think the whole
I was like, whoo!
Yeah.
We talked about it a lot. Yes, we have.
I really hope, I always like to, end these on a positive note. And I think that, again, this is a lot for all of us to digest, especially after this documentary just came out. In your opinion, do you feel like this movement, this Free Britney movement, and having this documentary come out and all of this light being shed on what actually is going on behind the scenes with Britney Spears, do you think this might be the key to freeing her from this conservatorship?
I think it's a fantastic start. I'm not sure if Britney wants to be free from the conservatorship. She has not asked. I think the first things we've seen indicated by her lawyer is she wants her dad out of it. I think getting her dad out of it is a huge win. And I think the external pressure definitely makes the court up their game. And knowing that all those eyes are on it definitely means that there are more people looking at stuff. And if stuff isn't adding up, there's more people to call it out and say this isn't adding up. We've seen Britney signaling through legal documents that she appreciates the fan support. We heard Sam when he got stopped, what was it, last week, saying we appreciate the fans, we appreciate everybody. I think knowing that there's support out there has definitely helped, because Britney doesn't have access to the internet without supervision. So how much she knows about the support she has is questionable. Does her boyfriend know that and tell her people still love you, people are still here for you? I hope so. And does that encourage her that if she were to go back to work, that people would be there for her? I hope so. I hope she knows that if she decided to go back to Vegas and do a residency, people would be there every single night to support her. So I think it's a good thing. Yeah, I think it's absolutely a good thing. She knows that there are still people waiting for her and supporting her. And I think that once her dad's out of the conservatorship, she might be more inclined to go back to work. But if the Free Britney movement wants to see her out of the conservatorship, and that is the only goal, it might be hard because she hasn't asked for that. So I think a win in this for sure is having Bessemer Trust as co-conservator and in charge of the money. A win in this is getting her dad out of it. A win in this is making Jody Montgomery or someone else the conservator over the person. And then another win that I look forward to seeing is reducing some of those personal restrictions and letting her use social media. Her social media is weird. I mean, her social media is clearly not controlled by her. So letting her start to have some autonomy in her social media, letting her start to connect back with her fans, it seems like that's really what she wants.
And, I have to say one of my favorite parts on that documentary was when she took her stand, and I think this is how I interpreted it, but when she took her stand against doing the next residency, that she actually walked away from the deal, and she walks out and she just...
Mm-hmm. She literally, she was like, it's Britney, bitch. I'm not doing this anymore.
Was that her? Like, do you think that was her kind of mental FU to everybody saying like, you know what, like I'm taking a stand now and I'm not you're not going to puppet me?
I think so. And I really wonder how much the incidents with her dad and her kids were the driving force behind that. Whether it was like, no, what we're not going to do is you're not going to mess with my kids. I have gone along with this. I'm putting my foot down. I don't care. Sue the estate. Why the fuck do I care? Sue me for millions for walking away from this deal. I don't care. It's not even my money anymore. So I'm not doing it. You can't, like, literally, you can't make me. You can't make me do it. You can't make me dance. You can't make me perform. You can't make me do what you want to do. You can't make me do it.
Good for Britney.
Yeah. I don't think she cares. She's like, whatever, you're going to get less money. Fuck it.
Dear Dana said, thank you for the super chat, dear Dana. When she is always spinning on Instagram, she does not seem her normal self. What say you? There are a lot of people that always speculate about Britney, and that's all it is, really, because nothing's been confirmed. It's just sad when you see Britney, and it seems like every time we're watching videos, she has like that night before makeup, and she looks like she looks like she's been through it a little bit, and it's just unfortunate watching her, but who knows? Like, honestly, who knows what medications that they might have her on, or who knows what's going on? And I think that's the important thing.
We don't know. And I don't know if we know what Britney's normal self is at this point. It's been so long since we've seen her in a candid way. I don't know if we know what that looks like. I mean, she seems to be pretty happy when she is with Sam and when they are traveling a bit. But what do we know? They're smiling for the camera. Somebody's taking those pictures. So who's with them when it's the two of them? Because all of those pictures someone else is taking. So I don't know, and I don't know how much we will know. But I hope that she will get some of her personal autonomy. Whether we see that and whether we're entitled to that's a whole separate conversation. But I hope that she starts to get some autonomy back, so at least she feels supported instead of trapped. Because if she is struggling with mental health, it would be nice if she felt like she had a team that supported her instead of was using whatever she was struggling with against her to keep her trapped in her home.
I'm ready to show up right now. Free Britney. Oh my God.
Yep. Like free Britney for me is like, let Britney go to McDonald's. Like we know Brit used to love fast food. Like let Britney get in her car and go for a drive.
Let her assault a paparazzi or two. Just let her. You know, like if that makes her feel better.
We're not condoning assault on the internet. He's joking.
Okay. We're not condoning.
Joking, you all. We're not condoning assault on the internet.
No, honestly, though,
He's
you're
being
right.
cheeky.
It's like let her,
let her be.
Let her be, because at this point, somebody even said it in the comments earlier. Of course, yes, we are joking about that. Well, I'm joking about that. You didn't say it. But no, it was sad watching her. Just a fun little tidbit, and I'm not throwing this out there because it's like,
fun little tidbit. Let's go.
Yeah, I was in an Ariana Grande music video in Break Free.
I love that.
I was trying to do whatever in Los Angeles, and I was on set with her, talking with her and her friends, and she was talking about how at the very beginning of her fame, she was hiking at Griffith Park, and she didn't realize, but after one person noticed her, a second person noticed her, and all of a sudden, all of these people on this hike, it went from like 3 people to like 100 people, and they cornered her. She hid herself in the bathroom until the police showed up because she couldn't get out of it, and nobody was letting her out. They were all grabbing at her, and it's almost like that Princess Diana sort of way of being. Yeah. Like the paparazzi back then, before social media was as crazy as it is today. Now celebrities just post photos of themselves because they're like,
but we're seeing it. And I love this conversation. And if you have a minute, we can totally have this conversation. Yeah. We're seeing it even with YouTube's like most problematic Trisha Paytas, but people are following her around and doing TikToks of themselves trying to get into her gated community, trying to follow her home to where she lives, trying to corner her if she's out to make her do a TikTok with them. Like it's a different type of clout chasing than the paparazzi chasing people. Now it's people chasing people to put those people. Everybody's turned into the paparazzi and is chasing people around with their phones being like, give me a shout out. Like, oh, I'm trying to get into Trisha Paytas' house. And Trisha Paytas in the realm of celebrity is not nearly on a level of an Ariana Grande or a Britney Spears, but because she's on TikTok and YouTube, she's highly recognizable. I mean, she also drives a pink car like Jeffree Star, but she's recognizable and she gets swamped going out now and has recently been speaking out about it. Other YouTubers have talked about that as well. And so we're seeing this shift, I think, between like, it used to be the paparazzi chasing people, and now it's people with their own phones chasing people because anyone can like use a hashtag, get their photo sold and use it. And that until that changes, none of this is going to change.
Well, yeah, and kind of, I mean, you made a good point. It's like people are kind of like, this is like the new day of paparazzi, because now if I get that photo of Ariana Grande walking in Target or something like that, and I catch her off guard, then I have it in its content that's on my social media. So when it gets blasted, it's going to come back to me, and everyone, everybody's going to be like, that's so cool. And no, you're right. And it puts people, I remember watching a video one time where Kylie Jenner was walking into a restaurant, and as she's walking, all of these girls were like, Kylie, and grabbing on her, and she turned around and she's like, don't touch me, you'll get hurt. And she was just kind of like letting them know, I have security, like the security doesn't care, they're going to hurt you, you're taking this too far. And it's weird to watch people ripping at you and pulling at you and touching you, and people forget they don't actually know you. Right. What is it we live in sometimes?
It's a very the relationship between, I think, celebrity and community or celebrity and fan has definitely shifted with social media because people feel like they know you so well, these kind of parasocial relationships. And I think it more with YouTubers, but the Kardashians are a good example too, because they're so social media savvy. They bring you into their homes. They film at their homes. They want you to feel like you're sitting down on the couch chatting with the sisters because they want you to also buy their skincare and their lip kits and their whatever. But then when they're out, they're like, no, but you don't know me like that. It's like, I've seen Courtney wax Chloe's bush on television. Like, how can you tell me I don't know? Like, I feel like I know you because I know you better than I know the friends in my personal life that I've known for 20 plus years because of the situations and how much access you've granted to people. So it's a very interesting conversation about kind of celebrity, access to celebrity, and then the shift between celebrity and then social media celebrity, because social media celebrities give people so much access to themselves, but then that also creates other problems and people feel entitled to that access.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's very, once you hit a certain point of notoriety, I feel like it becomes very dangerous, especially, you know, like there are a lot of celebrities, even like Kim Kardashian after Paris, started learning not to post in real time because they would post and then people knew where they were. They knew how they were, you know, that's how the bling ring happened. It was just a newer.
Can we have a whole nother day talking about the bling ring?
Yes. God, I feel like
a friend of mine prosecuted the bling ring. I was a DA when that was all going down.
Really?
Yep. I was involved in some of the Lindsay Lohan prosecutions as well. Like, it's fascinating. But yes, people will use posting in real time. I don't post in real time often anymore. I mean, I do when I'm at my house, but I don't post the front of my house. I don't post, you know, exactly where I live. But I also was a district attorney, so personal security and not being on social media was my default. So I think people don't realize that. And you never realize on social media, like you never realize when you're going to blow up. So I think people post stuff thinking, oh, it's just my Instagram for my friends. And then something happens and now it's huge. It's just the mindfulness in online spaces is also a big conversation because that's how Paris went down, is because the Kardashians gave so much access. And I think they all learned, thankfully, nobody was hurt, because Kim could have been very, very much hurt, if not killed in that. It was a very, very serious thing, but they all learned. Everybody's talking about the bling ring. What's the bling ring? What's the bling ring? I see it in the comments. Do you want break it down, Adam? Give him because I don't say anything short.
Okay. That's okay. You can't really sum that up being short, but the bling ring was this group of kids who lived in Los Angeles, and they were in high school, and they ended up getting together. They probably weren't the kids that walked the line in school, like the ones that did everything you're supposed to. They were going out to these different like nightclubs and really trying to be in the Hollywood scene, right? And correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, but
no, they were scene kids.
Huh?
They were scene kids.
Yeah, they were scene kids. Yeah. And eventually they started going out and they saw like the Ryan Cabrera out or the Lindsay Lohan, and they were partying with all of these people way back when. And they were finding out through being out with everybody. They would get a text and they would be like, oh my God, Paris Hilton's at this club that I'm at. And then they would go out and know that Paris Hilton was out and go rob her house. And like back then, especially, I can't even, I'm sure you can explain this even better, but back then Paris Hilton didn't even lock her house, like the door to her house. She didn't think that it was that big of a safety issue, which is crazy to me. Because
it's crazy. But celebrities didn't think people could get past the gates, or that they knew where they lived, or that they would assume. And people were tracking celebrities when they were out of town, when they were going to be on a movie set or at a convention, and were breaking into their houses. I had a celebrity who was a victim of not the bling ring, but of a similar thing. And she would be out at conventions, and people would know she was there. The conventions advertise you're there, and stuff would get stolen from her house. It ended up being from somebody who had access to her in her house. And then she would see like her jewelry that she'd worn on the red carpet on eBay and shit. It's wild. So people would use knowing where people are going to be against them to break into their house. Paris kept the key under the doormat.
Yeah, Aqua Melody 8 said Paris kept the key under the doormat.
Probably so she could get in when she had come back from a night of being out all night, because most of the things she carried weren't big enough to keep a key in. And you don't want to lose your key at the club.
Which is, I mean, again, now mind-blowing, because if you look back now in today's time, it just wouldn't happen. People don't leave their houses unlocked. Even Paris Hilton to this day, if you watch her in the This Is Paris documentary, she's so sketched out with her property, even around her friends, her boyfriends, her assistants. She tests everybody that comes around her, and in her life, she records them. She has it watched. She doesn't trust anyone or anything anymore. And this is what this has done to her, because she had people in her personal space. Guys, you have to watch Bling Ring. Like, they were in her closet, putting on her clothes, holding her dog, playing with her dog, dressing up, taking photos in her bed. And then they were stealing a lot of her clothes and her jewelry, and then going to some scummy guy in Hollywood and selling their stuff. And then they kind of got on this like natural, I don't know if it's natural, but like this little high of doing this, where they were like, you can't get enough.
Right. It escalates. It becomes kind of an addiction. It escalates. So they did make a movie out of the bling ring case. It was prosecuted in Los Angeles County. And it becomes the power of it, because now these celebrities who seem untouchable, you're touching their stuff, you're in their space. It's a very specific thing. I don't think these are a group of people that were going to go to Target and just rip stuff off the shelves. This was a different type of a crime. It was somebody who wanted to see the outcome and it became more of a power thing than a theft thing. And there are some crimes that are just like that, but that's a whole conversation for a different day.
I want to say two things really quick when it comes to this.
Yes.
Lopez, in one of her documentaries, actually said, because she's been famous long enough to know and remember when no one knew how to find her house, and when social media wasn't a big thing, and you would see people on movies, but there was this sort of, now what she called old Hollywood kind of glam thing, where you would see photos of them on the red carpet, but you didn't really know what to expect from them being in their everyday lives. Now, like you said, we do, because we feel like we're in their homes, and social media has kind of changed the whole game. It's crazy, because that statement, it really like resonates with me now, kind of dissecting this. But also, I don't know if you remember, there was a reality show following the family with one of the sisters, the daughter, who was a part of the bling ring. She was getting sucked into it. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to send it to you.
Go back and look. Yes, please.
Or if anybody knows it, go ahead and comment below. But no, it followed her. I think they only had one season, but the mom was kind of like a Kris Jenner, and there were these like 3 daughters. One of them was dating Ryan Cabrera at the time, and she was associated in all of this bling ring drama. And the mom couldn't wrangle the daughters together, but they were all going out on modeling shoots. But at night they were partying, and she's like, "Alexis, you're supposed to be home for a shoot."
The chat knows. Pretty Wild on E. Go chat, go. I will have to look it up. I don't remember that. I've watched a lot of bad reality TV. I don't remember that.
I mean,
that's awesome.
It's kind of fun because it goes behind the scenes of the girl who's actually being prosecuted. Well, one of them, for the bling ring. So I just thought it would be fun if you ever catch it and you're bored and you're stuck inside.
Oh, I'm definitely going to go look for it. We'll have to have a bling ring chat. So if the chat wants a bling ring chat, we'll have to do that at some point, because it's very, very interesting.
Yes.
So
Alexis Nyers. Well, guys, with that, I appreciate you guys going on this kind of roller coaster of different topics with us. We covered New Jersey for the first 17 minutes. We talked about some bling ring. The only thing we really didn't talk about was Amanda Bynes' conservatorship, and it wasn't on the list, but I guess that's another thing I want to know more about.
We'll have to do that another day for sure.
Do that another day. But for anyone who has been living under a rock, you can find Emily D. Baker at Emily D. Baker, the Emily D. Baker, of course, where you can get all of her legal commentary, and everyone loves you. You're the best at what you do. So the fact that you even take the time to here and talk with me, I'm just honored and appreciative.
Oh, Adam, I enjoy you so much, and your community and your channel is always so welcoming, and I love having these conversations. I'm always happy to come and talk about Britney and then pull you off topic. Your group's like, wait a second, what is happening? This is what happens on my channel. We'll cover 3 topics, and we're going to go like this, and we're going to talk about the things, and it's fantastic. I love that they allow me to come in and do it, and thank you for sharing your time with me. I love it.
Yeah, and I love being able to talk to somebody and the time just passes, and it's like now it's an hour and 3 minutes, and where did that go? I love those kind of effortless conversations. Sometimes I try to do a recap with my fiance right here, and I'm 4 minutes in, and I'm like, you know. But this it doesn't feel like that. But you're also not my.
Thank you.
Guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like button, go follow Emily, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.